Hi everyone, welcome back to Roadmap, Autotraders product and tech podcast. And today I've got some interesting guests and we'll be diving into the art of search algorithms and some work that's been going on at Autotrader to improve the search experience over the last year or so. So we'll start with some quick intros. I said I was going to ask you a really random question that didn't relate to anything. So if you could give me a quick intro, who you are, what you do at AT, how long you've been at AT, all that kind of stuff. And just to put you on the spot, favourite biscuit as well. What's the favourite biscuit?
Hello.
I have to think about that now.
Yeah. It's a really good question actually. I'm Jason. I've had a few jobs at AT now, but I've been a software developer for around 6 years. Primarily worked on search listings and the products that surround search. And to answer your other question, I'm going to go with a chocolate digestive because I think it's an all-rounder. Good tea Dunkin' biscuit as well.
Yeah, it's a classic.
Yeah.
It's a classic.
Yeah.
Nice.
Cool. So I'm Tom. I'm a data scientist. Similar kind of started here about 6 years ago. Worked on various different kind of projects in teams, but yeah, now very much focused on search. And I would say probably chocolate hobnob would be the upgrade to the digestive, but
some tensions already.
Yep.
I'm Dan. I'm an analytics lead. I joined Autotrader just over 7 years ago. When I joined, I was focused quite a lot on our customers, the sellers on Autotrader, how we help them understand their performance on our platform, how they understand the value of using Autotrader in our products as well. And then in the past few years, I've focused more on the search experience on Autotrader, how helping consumers who are the buyers find that next vehicle, research that vehicle as well. So that includes all our ranking algorithms that we're going to talk about today, as well as our different products that our customers can purchase to achieve prominence in that experience as well. And yeah, also a hobnob for me.
Wow.
Very big fan of hobnobs.
And that was going to be mine as well, chocolate hobnob.
I think they're
It's a
also
great biscuit.
made in Manchester. So
Right. McVitie's
yeah,
factory.
yeah.
Cool. Awesome. There we go. It's what the audience wanted to know this morning. Cool. Good stuff. So just to start us off for people like myself who don't work in the space and anyone that's listening that isn't familiar, what's a search algorithm? And how does that play into our everyday lives as people who might be scrolling on the internet on various websites? How would you summarize it?
Yeah, so a search algorithm, it's essentially a way of finding, what you want to see. If you've gone onto any kind of site or social media site as well, there's so much stuff that you could possibly be shown. You think about the size of a screen, the amount of time people have. How do you find what is going to be the most relevant thing for that person that they actually want to see? So you're really trying to help aid the person find what they want. And on Autotrader, you can get a lot of information in terms of people can put in a price and age, distance, all that kind of stuff to help inform kind of the search. But still often, you've got hundreds, thousands of results, even with a tight set of search filters. So it's just figuring out, what is going to be the best thing to show them that, they want to buy. Ideally, at the end of the day, that's the main goal in terms of what a search algorithm is aiming to do.
Yeah. And I'm guessing that's behind the scenes on most websites where you're trying to find something. So whether that be like flights or a hotel or, in our case, cars or whatever,
Even
boats, whatever it might be.
like even you've got like Amazon, Google, also Netflix as well. Personal favorite of mine is probably, I'm a big YouTube user. Like I watch a lot of content on YouTube, and they actually have I think a really good search. I'm really big into food content, so I'll watch one video on food content and I'll just end up in a massive rabbit hole of loads of different videos from people going all over the world.
Nice top food channel on YouTube for the listeners.
I'm a big fan of Mark Wiens.
Nice. Cool. Throw that one in there, another recommendation. And I assume there's different ways that everyone's doing this, right? So different companies have their different algorithms happening behind the scenes. And I know we're going to get into ours a little bit, but is there a way that these companies are working out, like, do they have similar teams, do you think, behind the scenes working on this kind of stuff from some of the research that you guys have been doing as part of this, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think they have very similar technologies. We've been speaking to a lot of other automotive marketplaces within Europe, for example, and we find more often than not that we're trying to achieve very similar things. Yeah. I think what's key there is the context of the type of search, I suppose, that is taking place, whereas similar but different marketplaces like, say, Amazon or Airbnb are trying to achieve different things in what's relevant to the person using that website and the people with the listings, for example, on Airbnb, what they're trying to achieve as well. And that's where the types of information the algorithm might use would be different. They also tend to have different names as well, even though they mean the same thing. So whilst we have relevance, I think Booking call theirs recommended or sponsored or something like that. Airbnb don't even allow you to pick a different sort order than their relevance one. So I've always found that interesting as well, that they've really committed to that being the what they think is the best way for consumers to use their website.
Yeah, and there's some big teams behind the scenes probably at some of these companies that are working on that tech.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like in the Airbnb example, they're always publishing blogs, publishing papers on their research, which really has been quite helpful for us to understand what the opportunity is, what the right way to approach those problems are. So yeah, we found that very helpful in this journey.
Yeah, and we've been attending conferences as well from on like the academic side. Like, you know, if you want like one equation per slide kind of talks,
yeah,
like that's really interesting to see like what is the cutting edge kind of state of search algorithms, and also recommendation systems as well, which are subtly different. It can really depend on like what information do you have at the point where, you know, this query or this event is happening. You can have everything from, you know, some places will have the user logging in every single day, using it for many hours. There are other scenarios where it's like even like drive-throughs. So like you have no idea who this person is. They've just come in. It's like you need to do something quickly based on what you know at that moment. And so it's kind of the range of information you might have available and the context as well can vary hugely, and that really informs the best approach for a particular problem.
Yeah. And is it usually other companies that are presenting at these kind of conferences about their way of doing things and just sharing what they're working on? Do you get the academic folk getting involved?
Very, very much so, yeah. I guess on the industry side, it can be a bit more, you know, like it's kind of like the secret sauce, right? It's the thing that really makes the business tick. Whereas in academia, you know, it's far more about, okay, but what is the optimal setting? What can we do with various like open source data sets? But it is a very interesting problem in terms of it's a lot harder to validate without like real world testing compared to, say, a classification problem. You know, like, you know, you're trying to decide, you know, are these pictures of dogs or cats? That's quite easy to do offline. Whereas search algorithms and recommendations, you really need to kind of test out in the real world. Yeah.
A bit of a tangent, but how are the academic folks testing it out without that real world application? So do you get industry and academic people working together so that they can test the very best, like forefront of academic research on a real life scenario? Yeah.
So there's standardized data sets. So if you go into, in fact, various different packages as well that help deal with different search algorithms and their implementations, they'll often come with like a standard data set as well to help you kind of learn, okay, and test, right, how do I perform on this standard task, which is useful. But of course, you know, the trick is making it work for your own custom environment. There are also companies out there who will just output like a general like data set, and it's like, please, like academics, take this and work on it. So you can certainly get that sharing between academia and industry.
That's really interesting. And what's the team at AT? Like, what does the team look like that work on this kind of stuff in our business? Who's it made up of? What kind of people are working on it?
So for context, there's two main teams that really work on search. One is called Search Evolution, and that's very much about the user experience on Autotrader using search. So making that as easy as possible, which is quite a difficult process to go through buying a car. So trying to help them in that journey, find all the information they need available. Whereas the team we're going to focus on today is called Prominence and Reach, and that's really everything behind the scenes and that's helping produce the right content in terms of ranking results or selecting the right advert to go in a certain position, but then also helping our customers achieve prominence in that search as well. So how we're able to do that robustly and reliably every day as well is part of the makeup of that team. But these teams are quite similar in terms of the people involved. So there's a heavy engineering side to it as well. So whilst with Search Evolution, it is more front end, and with Prominence and Reach, it's more data engineers, for example. We still have analysts, we still have scientists involved in the team. So yeah, it's quite a collaborative environment, quite a lot of different kinds of roles and disciplines involved in making it all happen.
Yeah, and has that team changed much over the last few years, or is it one of those teams at AT that are kind of always on and always working on this kind of stuff?
More the latter, really. Yeah, it's been around for a long time. It's gone through a few different name changes, perhaps in that time, but search has always been core and fundamental to the Autotrader website. The products and the way we show results hasn't really changed in what we're trying to achieve there as well with the search experience too. So I always see it as kind of keeping the lights on for Autotrader, and so it's always been important to have that team, and as I say, like robustly and reliably deliver results and deliver prominence to our customers every single day.
Yeah. And when did you guys all get involved in the team? Like, how many years have you been working specifically on this?
Specifically on Prominence and Reach, and the various other teams, the various other names beforehand. It's probably like since I started as a developer, so I've been probably on the team for 6 years now.
Oh wow! Yeah. What about yourself, Tom?
Yeah, and I'd say certainly started to work on it in kind of like 2019, that kind of time period, and kind of developing, refining what we have. Like there's been a lot of work that's gone into it over the years. So yeah, kind of like 6-ish years.
Yeah. And for me, a bit more recently, I started a few years ago focusing on it, and I think that's been part of the journey for search as well, is that more and more analytics and data science involvement in how we have improved the ranking of results, for example, that we show in search. So more and more heavily having data analysts and scientists involved in that has been key.
And have you found moving across from, I guess, more of the customer or like car dealer side of things and those kind of products to the consumer search?
It's been interesting. In some ways, it's more difficult because you've got to try and strike a balance between what's best for the consumer, what's best for our customers as well. It really is the first moment that the two connect in search. So we've got to make sure that we're balancing the needs of both. And with all of that, still, we have over 1 million people every day using Autotrader. They're doing 15 to 20 million searches. So we've got a very broad spectrum of needs there that we've got to cater for. At the same time, we've got over 500,000 vehicles available to see in search. So how do we cater for all the different needs of our customers as well? Yeah. So it's a big challenge, but it's interesting.
Yeah. Awesome. So, I mean, we speak a lot about search at Autotrader. It's probably one of the most used terms if you're working in product and tech, especially when you're in your guys' space. But in super simple terms, for someone who might not have ever come across Autotrader, someone's just landed on Earth and you have to explain what it is. How would you put it? Like, what is AT Search? Who's it used by? I guess why does it matter? Like, why do we spend time investing in this?
You take it down?
Yeah, I can have a stab at it.
Big question.
Yeah. Like search, as I say, is the kind of fundamental part of Autotrader, in my eyes at least. I mean, I'm a bit biased, I suppose. But it's used by over 1 million people every day. If you think about all the different types of vehicles you could want to buy, or all the different types of buyers that there are, people looking for a new car, people looking for their first car, people looking for something bigger because they've just started a family. There's many, many different needs to cater for there. We have quite a wide variety of different sellers as well that use our platform. So mostly we have like trade dealerships, but also we have manufacturers that advertise on our platform. We have private sellers, so that's just the general public looking to sell a car as well. So there's lots of different kinds of customers as well there to create a good and effective experience for as well. But really search is helping those two groups connect, the buyers and the sellers, and helping the buyers find that right next car, creating an experience that's helpful, somewhat enjoyable. There's a lot of people that are enthusiasts about cars that also use our platform, and they want to get a specific thing out of it as well. But our role as a team then is to try and help provide the right content in that experience in terms of selecting the right adverts, ranking them in an effective way, and making the right recommendations when someone might be struggling to find that next vehicle as well. So that's in a nutshell how I'd sort of describe search on Autotrader.
Yeah, no, it's a good explanation. I guess, I always saw it as kind of matching the buyer and seller in the most kind of efficient and friendly way, I guess, for both parties, right? If you had to explain it like that. So you're getting them together, I guess, quickly, so that the consumer's finding what they want as a buyer, but also you've got to balance the needs of the customers and making sure that their cars that they're obviously paying to advertise on Autotrader are showing up to potential buyers as well.
Yeah,
That's good stuff. And I guess you kind of answered it as part of that, but like, why do we put so much time and effort into making it better? Why do we have this team that have been around with various different names, obviously, over the last few years to focus on this stuff? Why don't we just go, you know what, it's doing all right, just leave it as it is? Why are we pushing the boundaries with this kind of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately we are the biggest used vehicle marketplace in the UK. People come to Autotrader to buy that next car because they know they'll get a lot of choice, but they'll also get the best experience possible in helping them find that. But that's not where we want to stop. So we are very keen on expanding that market share into new vehicles, into other options like leasing as well, buying through finance. And so we need to be able to cater for all those different kinds of ways you can buy a car, all those different kinds of vehicles as well. The marketplace itself evolves quite rapidly as well, whether that's every day the thousands of cars that are being added and removed to Autotrader, as well as the automotive landscape itself evolving. And so we need to be constantly on top of that, really. We need to have a sort order and to have an experience that's able to cater for those ever-changing needs as well. And that's why we need an always-on team focusing on search, really, that we can evolve and adapt to everything that we want to do and everything that's changing. Yeah,
cool. And before we get into, I guess, learning to rank, the new kind of approach that you guys have been looking at in the team, why did we decide that we needed to look to change the way that the search algorithm worked? Like, what were the driving factors that got us to the point where we were like, right, okay, this is a good time to explore a new approach in search?
Yeah, so currently we have kind of a very much like hand-tuned search algorithm, which we just call search algo. It's not the most imaginative name out there, but so we have kind of over the years tuned it. We've added in new elements to it. We have various machine learning models that feed into it as well, and then we weight it up. How important is each term? That's more done by experimentation, testing, seeing what is working. But as that complexity grows over time, and I ran the numbers really quickly, if we wanted to test like 3 different values for each like weight in our search algo equation, it would take about 35,000 years to work through all of them at a very aggressive kind of testing rate. So it's like, that's not feasible at all. And so, it's like, okay, well, we've got a whole load of parameters that we need to kind of adjust in some kind of complex and very non-linear way, right? How do the various elements interact with each other? It's a very complex system. It's kind of like, well, it's kind of where the world of machine learning excelled, right? That's exactly what it does. And so that's really the driving force to get us to that next stage of being able to figure out what are people wanting, what are what they kind of filtering on, what are they viewing, how is that all kind of helping us figure out what is it that they're searching for, that, and sometimes it's a thing that they may not have thought of before. Other times, like, some users are very, very specific in terms of what they're wanting to see. So you've got to be able to adapt for and serve both of those types of users on the site. So that's really the driving force towards a learning to rank approach.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we started working on it and attending a bunch of conferences.
Yeah, and is that where we started then? Like, we knew that there was I guess it sounds like there's some approaches out there that other companies are using and that, like, academic folks are looking at in terms of being really good ways to do this kind of thing. But did we start by going out, doing a lot of research, attending conferences, as you say, and how did we get to the point where we went, okay, this learning to rank one, it's gonna do as well, that one?
Yeah, so the nice thing about learning to rank is that it's a very general framework.
Yeah.
And so in that sense, it's very adaptable, but then that also means that you've got a lot of choices to make before you get to like a MVP.
Right.
So, like, something that you can start to really kind of test it as like an alpha. And so myself and Dustin, who's another data scientist here, really been kind of diving into the literature on this, and we've kind of come up with a kind of a good kind of set of kind of models that we can test with. But in terms of what LTR does, there's kind of two parts. There's a kind of a pre-sort, also known as candidate generation as well. So that's kind of where you're going from, as Dan was saying, like, up to 500,000 possible options. You need to narrow that down quickly, and then once you've got kind of like your long list of potential candidates, then apply a much heavier, much larger kind of machine learning model or algorithm to that smaller set to then kind of do the final ranking, and you then show that on the site. And so with that, you've got to balance things like speed as well, and that's where kind of bringing Jason to kind of go like, hey, we've got this massive like neural network, will it run? And sometimes the answer was no. But then, we've like really worked together to figure out, okay, yeah, what is it that we can kind of trim out? How can we speed it up? And I feel like we've done quite well in terms of getting that response time down, because you want search to feel snappy. Like, there was one iteration where the response time on average was 7 seconds, right? That never ever went live, but it's like, that's good to know, right? We need to really work on this, and we've sped it right up.
It's a really interesting dynamic, because like being able to use a machine learning model within search is quite new for me as well. So like, I'll be in meetings with Tom and Dustin, and they'll be using a lot of words, and I'll just be like, okay, cool, and I'll go, well, I'll Google all those words. So it's been like a very big learning curve, but honestly, it's been very interesting. And yeah, like as Tom said, the technology that powers search, we use Solar, which is effectively a search engine. So that gives consumers capabilities to like filter down their search. It uses text searching, so you can use the keyword, like if you want to find out vehicles that have heated seating, support Apple CarPlay, etc. And then the main thing that's really important that we use with Solar is the sort order, which is obviously the hand-tuned rule set that we've got. And Solar actually does support learning to rank, so we're able to upload different types of machine learning models up to the server, and we've been able to have a play around with that. And yeah, as Tom said, like the performance has been a big sort of factor in, like, we don't want to increase that whatsoever, because if we do, we'll end up losing consumers when we start to kind of ruin the search experience for them. So it's been quite a bit of a balancing act, trying to balance performance as well as CPU usage, response times, and trying to get like a much better relevance in place.
That felt like quite an important moment, really, when we realized that Solar supported it, because I think we did start at the beginning thinking about what's the right way to frame this as a data science problem. But ultimately, the important thing here is maintaining a robust and reliable search experience. And so when we realized that Solar natively supported it, that again gave us confidence then that we were on the right track here, using the right kind of approach to this kind of problem that we know can be in the long term like the right thing for search as well then.
Yeah. So we found this kind of quite broad framework, it sounds like, Tom, learning to rank. and did a lot of research on it. How do we start applying that to AT search within the team? Was it doing those like little tests, testing response times, seeing, I guess, how search would look with this new approach? Like, what were the first steps that the team took?
Yeah. So first steps is, as with any data science project, getting the data. Like, that's always the key thing. If you've got really poor training data, there's biases in it, right, that's going to flow right through to the end product. So making sure the data is in a really good place, really representative, that's absolutely crucial. And then you can start to play around with offline metrics. So you can train the model, you can test it in terms of like, okay, we know that in this search that occurred on the site at some point, this was the initial ordering, but these were the adverts that the user actually kind of liked. Yeah. And so it's like, okay, well, are they closer towards the top than what they were, right? And you can start to kind of build on those metrics and kind of go, right, it's learning.
Is that what's happening, though? It's feeding back into itself to say, actually, we could have done a better job for the consumer here, the buyer, by putting these adverts maybe a little bit further up the list that they saw.
Yes, yeah. So the specific metric that we use it's pretty much an industry standard, is called NDCG. It's basically like how well have I ranked this? Have I got all the stuff that was the most relevant at the very top and all the stuff that wasn't relevant until at the bottom? Yeah. And there's various different iterations of that, but crucially, you're always working with the data that was served in the first place. And therefore, you've got to be very careful with any biases that are present in that data from the sort order that was used to generate that data in the first place. And then what you're doing in the real world is not just looking at, say, the 20 results that were served in that one query. I've got to figure out which 20 to show out of the 500,000. And so that is fundamentally different. And that's where experimentation, putting it live, is a must, right? That's the only real true way to assess, is this working? But ideally, you generate, you get a good feel with the offline metrics, checking it's working on that small scale. And then you can kind of basically shove it onto Solar in kind of like a private version. And you can check that, yes, it runs well, it's fast, that's all good. And then you can move then to an actual test and see how it does in the real world, which is always like cross fingers time.
Yeah. Is that where you kind of got involved first with it, Jason, when we got to the point where we needed to test both, I guess, the actual algorithm itself, make sure it's doing what it should be doing, but also that, as you said, the performance has been a massive part of it as well?
Yeah, so because we're playing about with machine learning models now, we don't ideally want to put that in front of live traffic. So Autotrader, we have an application that's a search simulator. So we record 1% of real life queries that happen, store that in a database, and then we're able to run those back, tweak the sort order algorithm. More recently, we can apply a lim to rank model on top of that. So then the data team can go away and analyze results. We can also keep an eye on metrics as well. So that's been really, really useful to have. And as Tom said, we have another instance of Solar especially for that, so that we don't end up breaking the real website. Yeah. And that's come about quite recently, and it's been really useful because it's given us a chance to sort of be more innovative with search as well. We're not as scared to sort of break anything now, so that's been really good.
Yeah, cool. And is this stuff, is it out there in the wild now? Are we learning to rank on the website today? Yeah.
Yeah, we have tests live. It's always going to be a thing of there's so many things that you can do to tweak and improve, yeah. And the more it's out there, the more we can learn and then start to expand its use. So yeah, it is very much a iterative cycle where we can just keep making it better. We've got more features that we want to add in to the model to kind of more bits of information to help the model learn. Essentially, that so we've got a list that we want to work through. It's something that can really just be growing on for a long time, and that's something that feels so nice. We hit kind of very much a limit, or kind of a plateau as to what you could do with a hand-tuned model, right? This gives us so much more scope for growth and improvement in terms of what the search algorithm is capable of and can take it into account.
Yeah, and what have we learned so far from having it, out there and testing it within the team. And yeah, what kind of things, obviously you might not want to go into too much secret source detail, but what kind of things are we looking to do next in this space?
So I think in terms of what we've learned, I mean, I was surprised at how much better the neural nets were performing than the trees, and that, you know, so for data scientists watching, you know, you would normally expect like neural nets to be a little bit heavier, but in fact we've found they've performed really quite well. They're quite compact as well, which is great for storing them within Solar for use. And so yeah, that's been very interesting to see. And there's different architectures that we want to explore on that front, as to, you know, how do we design the neural network to work the best. So yeah, I think I found that quite interesting. And as ever, right, it's always surprising when you dig into the maths bit behind it as to what you have to do to account for various like biases in terms of like position on page, that kind of thing, and accounting for that. That's been really interesting to dig into and get working.
Have there been any highlights, I guess, Jason and Dan, for yourselves working on this side of things? Just like personal things, I guess, maybe that have happened across the journey of getting to where we are today. And equally, any challenges as well? What have been the biggest challenges for yourselves?
So for me, it is, I kind of alluded to it before, like not beforehand, like I had no knowledge of machine learning, what they actually looked like. So it's really giving me a chance to sort of like dive into it. And like I said before, it's like a really interesting dynamic between, I guess, the engineers and the data scientists. And there's this bit in the middle where I kind of get the gist of what's going on over there. And I can kind of make suggestions to Tom, like if something I can't implement on my side, I'm like, can you train the model to do this instead? And he'll be like, oh yeah, we can do this, or no, we can't. But I think that's as far as I need to go in terms of my knowledge. Like I can just get the gist of what's going on to get by and like implement what we need to. So yeah, it's been a really good learning curve, and also like getting to know Solar a bit better, the tech that we use to power search. I've kind of fallen into this sort of Solar sort of the holder of all the knowledge around Solar on our team, which has been pretty good. Like I didn't choose to sort of like, I didn't want it, but I've kind of become that person now. So kind of learning how Solar operates, and you know what's and certain things that we have to do to make learning to rank work more effectively.
Yeah. And just on that Solar point as well, like, you know, yes, Solar natively supports learning to rank, but the performance from the updates that Solar has been doing have been really quite something, you know. So we've done some upgrades, like my goodness, like the CPU usage is just so much better now, like it's flying through it. So that's also quite interesting to see in terms of just how the Solar like engine itself is evolving over time to better handle these kinds of workloads.
Yeah. Can yourself, Dan, any kind of challenges, highlights from your journey working on this stuff?
I think one highlight is that when you use machine learning, you're getting an objective opinion really on what's important in this example, ranking adverts in search. And so it's been really enlightening to understand more about what's important in search. That's a really helpful part of machine learning that can help guide us going forwards now in terms of what other bits of information could we provide to the model to help improve it again and again. That would, as Tom alluded to before, just be impossible with a hand-tuned algorithm to make that happen. I think one of the challenges is just getting comfortable with changing search, changing what's happening behind the scenes. And so we've been very careful with how we've started to roll this out. We've collaborated a lot across our product and technology teams to make that happen. And what's great now is that we've got into this rhythm now of being very confident that every model that we release, every test that we do, we know it will perform well. We know it will deliver good value to our consumers and our customers when we put that live. And that's really increased the cycle then of testing that we've been able to do. So it's definitely accelerated the improvements that we can make and the different kind of scenarios that we can use it in. And each time we're learning what we can do better with that, and that then sparks ideas. I guess the challenge there then is, how do we prioritize all these ideas as well? Everyone's really excited about it now. Everyone can see the potential in it. what do we do next is the challenging discussion that we have each week now.
Yeah. Big question. So just before we wrap up, if people want to learn more about this area and delve a bit deeper, is there any way you direct them, I guess, from either the engineering point of view or the analytical side of things?
I think different conferences such as Brexis is very, very good. Like, that's very technical. Like, if you want to dive deep,
Yeah.
that's a good source. But there's lots of kind of different kind of blog posts out there, far more like an entry level discussion as to how it works out there. So yeah, and in fact textbooks as well that have been written. So there's plenty of resources out there.
Cool. Anything from the more engineering side, I guess, thinking about solar and...
Yeah, if you are interested in learning Triangle with solar, like, definitely dive into the docs. They are quite well written. And yeah, again, there's like loads of blogs online as well around how it works, how to implement it, etc.
Perfect. Great stuff. Well, we're at time. So thanks so much, Dan, Jason and Tom, for chatting today. Very interesting and insightful topic. As always, the usual bits and bobs. Please remember to like and subscribe on YouTube, follow us on Spotify and Apple, and give this episode a like there as well. And we'll see you next week for the next episode. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.